Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to introduce an amazing, inspiring, and incredible founder and entrepreneur of Pennies for Girls, Davinia James Stewart. So, welcome, Davinia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Davinia, firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on all you have achieved. Can you please share with us a little bit more about who you are and what inspired you to start Pennies for Girls and how that name came about?
So, I am Davinia James Stewart. I'm from the beautiful island of Jamaica.
Yeah.
I was raised there until I was around 18 and then moved to the US to be with my biological mom. My journey started from I was 3 months old. And I say that because at 3 months old, I became very sick. And a community activist in Jamaica took me in. And she cared for me until I was 11 years old. At 11 years old, I found out what poverty and violence was or is when I moved to go live with my biological mom in the capital of Jamaica, which is in Kingston. I'm the first one out of my family to graduate high school. And after high school, I moved to the US to be with my biological mom. After being reunited with her for 2 years, breast cancer claimed her life. And during that time, I felt cheated. I was angry. And I felt like, okay, my life is over.
Yeah.
And I felt that way because after being away from my mom for so many years, I felt like when we were reunited, that was the beginning of our next chapter together. But life isn't what we want it to be. And she was battling cancer for years, and after it was in remission for 5 years, it came back aggressive, and it took her life. Like, that was it. And during that moment, I have two earth angels, but two earth angels I felt like my mother handpicked, and they're now my adopted parents. And during a time when I felt like the entire world walked out of my life,
Yeah.
and I didn't know, what was next for me, they walked in and they never left. And they made sure I got a college education. They made sure to build my self-esteem. They made sure that I was able to live a life that reflected the one that I wanted.
Yes.
And so I remember when Girl Rising film came out, and my mom said, my mom and dad said, we got you tickets for that film. And they were telling me about it, and they were like, listen, we have to go and see it. And at the time, it was my mom, my dad, and one of my sisters, Ella, that went. The other two were too young to go. And watching that film, I was like, oh my gosh, the things that I have gone through in Jamaica.
Yeah.
There are girls in parts of the world that are going through the exact same thing and even worse. So the Girl Rising film is about 9 girls from different parts of the world that are going through things girls should never, ever have to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about things as being raped, being sold,
Yeah.
childhood bondage, like all these things that it is so hard to fathom a life like that. And I remember walking out of that theater and saying to my dad, oh my gosh, the dad from India reminds me so much of you, because my dad is the type of person that is so supportive of his daughters and what they want to do. Let me tell you, it's a blessing for me.
Yeah,
And then
amazing.
and then I remember him saying, the girl from Sierra Leone reminds me so much of you because you're so positive and you're a go-getter and you do all the stuff that you want to do. And I remember saying, you know what? I want to do something to help these girls.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I just wanted to do something. And at the time, I was a preschool teacher. And I remember just going through my purse and I saw all these pennies. And when I say a light bulb went off, a light bulb literally went off over my head. And I said, I'm going to use pennies to send girls to school.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of that is people are skeptical about donating, which is totally understandable.
Yes.
And in the same breath, they will easily give it away. And it is sad to say, but in parts of the world, just like how pennies aren't valued, girls aren't valued. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to change the world perspective of a penny and of a girl, because a girl is just not a girl and a penny is just not a penny. And from that day, I started telling family and friends that I want pennies to send girls to school. And when they ask, I explained it to them. And before you know it, like mails coming to me with pennies.
Wow.
People and friends were dropping it off. My parents even had Santa deliver pennies. And
Wow.
for
Amazing.
me, right. And for me, it was more about, okay, so people do have these pennies sitting around and I want them.
Yes.
So it was 600,000 pennies, then 700,000 pennies, then 1 million pennies, and then 2 million pennies. And now it's 2.5 million pennies.
Wow.
And I have sent 450 girls to school in Sierra Leone, India, Egypt, Afghanistan, Peru. I don't know if I said India. Like right now, I am at 10 different countries,
That's incredible.
including
Wow.
Nigeria. Thank you. And now looking to go to my 11th and 12th country, which is my 11th country is the Philippines, which I recently visited. And then my 12th country is my home country of Jamaica.
Yeah.
And that's the story of Pennies for Girls. And when it comes to the name, it is pennies, the number for girls, and not penny FOR girls, because I believe there are four things happens when you give girls quality education. One, they become their greatest self, living life on their terms. So they're choosing when and if they want to get married and when and if to have kids. Number two, they inspire those around them. And then that's how the domino effect comes in, because they're inspiring those around them. And then those girls or boys are then inspired. And so it causes that domino effect. And number three, I feel like they have the opportunity and they get the chance to build their community or their village or their city, providing jobs or opportunities. And then four, they get the chance to change the world in their own way. And I know this because I'm the living proof.
That's incredible, Davinia, and so inspiring. It's just
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
So, Pennies for Girls is not just about the education aspect, but also about girls' health care. Can you
Mm-hmm.
please elaborate on this and what can people do to help?
So when it comes to Pennies for Girls, I am always looking at, okay, how can I further help girls in developing countries? And I remember specifically at one point just wanting to know, okay, what's next that I can do? And I was able to connect with a nonprofit from Nigeria, HDI, and they help girls in Nigeria by providing them with sanitary napkins, because girls are missing from schools because of their periods.
Yeah.
And they also build wash libraries, which I love the concept of wash libraries, because it's teaching not just girls, but also boys how to properly wash their hands, teaching girls how to properly, dispose of their sanitary napkins, but also Open Dreams Initiative, HDI, focuses on using reusable sanitary napkins, because in some developing countries, they don't have the space or the outlet to dispose of a sanitary napkin. So using reusable ones is the best decisions. So I help by providing sanitary napkins and to help build wash libraries in schools and the nearest communities.
That's amazing. So
Thank you.
how can people get involved in terms of helping, or if
So
they want
people
to
could
donate?
get so people could get involved by finding me on social media platforms, Penny's Number 4 Girls, or Davinia James, or they could send me an email at daviniajames@yahoo.com, or they could find me on my personal website, which is daviniajames.com, and they're able to send me sanitary napkins for these girls. They're able to send me also pennies. So it all depends on how is it they want to create change. I am open in taking pretty much every and anything.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
there's so much that we take for granted. So what would you say some of your lessons and learnings been, and what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect of the work that you do?
That's, that's a good question. And the reason why I feel like it's a good question is that it gives you the opportunity to put, things in perspective in real time. And so for me, when it comes to lessons, is you can't expect people to understand or even support things that they haven't lived.
Yeah, for sure.
I think through things that you do, you can inspire those around you. I think my greatest lesson from what I do is to never underestimate the power from within. And I don't say that lightly. A lot of the times, people will often question their capabilities, and I think it's because they don't give their self enough credit.
Absolutely.
Don't question it. If you want to do something, go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Give it your all. And so, what if that plan that you have doesn't work out? I think that's another opportunity to find another plan A. If that plan A doesn't work, you find another plan A. There's no plan B, C, or
No.
D. For me, it's always plan A's, 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 A's. I was like, okay, let me try them all. So I think that's
Because plan B is almost like a cop out for failure.
right. Yeah. And that's how I feel. So I think, for me, that's my greatest lesson.
And what's been the most rewarding aspect for you?
The most rewarding aspect is just getting thank yous, and not thank yous from anyone, but thank yous from these girls that are benefiting from the work that I'm doing. Like that is all.
Yes.
What a lot of people haven't grasped is that everything that I do, I'm simply paying it forward.
100%.
Strangers are the ones that opened up their hearts to my biological mom, and I'm the product of that.
Yeah.
And I'm from a developing country. I
Yeah.
was given the opportunity to get quality education.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, whereas if every girl in the developing country got the opportunity that I got, then they could become their greatest self and also creating change in their own way. And that is what I want. I don't care where girls are, like their geographical location is not important to me. What is
No.
important is the fact that they are getting the opportunities that we, people like me, are getting, people that are in first world countries. Like, I want them to be able to get that opportunity, and I also want them to know that I see their value, I see your worth, and I'm
Yeah.
fighting for it. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. So that leads me to social media, which has definitely helped in terms of spreading the word and being an enabler. And how has this helped Penny for Girls? And what do you think can be done better to create more awareness?
So when it comes to social media, I truly believe it's one of the most significant and more impactful tool that we have at the tip of our hands.
Yes.
Because when I started with Pennies for Girls and Asking Pennies, I started with social media.
Mm.
Like, I just put it out there saying, listen, if you have pennies, I would appreciate it if you donated them to me, and the reason behind that. And behold, people were like, okay, I have pennies. I
Yes.
can send them to you. Oh, you could pick them up. And for me too, that is how Global Citizen got a wind of, who I am
Mm.
and the work that I do. And then having the CEO doing a TED Talk that included me. And that TikTok reaching millions of people, but people that started to send me pennies. And it is one of the way that you and I got connected, because you made sure I got pennies all the way from South Africa. Then
Yes.
I've gotten pennies all the words from India. And, like, that is the power of social media. It travels beyond country borders, and it could be very effective.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. So you did touch on, your mom, and obviously she sadly passed away when you were a young girl, and you had your own set of challenges. Do you feel that this helped shape part of what inspired you to help young girls? So through the adoption of incredible parents and being afforded the opportunity to do what you've done, do you feel that that's influenced and shaped how you and what inspired you to start Pennies for Girls?
So this is how I look at it.
Yeah.
If my mom was still alive, I don't believe I would be doing what I'm doing today.
Yes.
And even though I miss her so much,
Yeah.
I believe that her death needed to happen in order for me to experience being rebirthed.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
that's just how I feel. And not having her here is also that push to do better, to do more, to become more of someone that I love. And even with just helping these girls, I can see a little bit of my mom in them, because my mom only had a partial high school education. And
Mm.
I saw how limited that she was.
Yes.
And just looking at that, I knew that I didn't want that for me. But
Yes.
also I realized that there are thousands, millions of girls that have the same story as her. And they just want the opportunity. So my mom's death is definitely a fuel behind what I do. It's actually the foundation behind Pennies for Girls.
Oh, that's amazing. Honestly, incredible. So education is also changing at such a rapid rate, and yet these young girls struggle to access the basics. So, what and how do you think can be done better and also implement technology?
So when it comes to education, it is more than just the money. And I say that because, okay, say there's a girl in Nigeria that needs to go to school. She can't go to school because of several reasons. Okay, you providing the money is just a part of it.
Yeah.
What about uniforms? What about resources? Resources for homework, resources for projects? You know, what about resources in getting to school?
Yes.
So it's a whole lot of different parts that comes with education. One of the biggest and most important thing is, yes, it's funding, but funding that covers more than just the physical thing of a school. And
Of
we need
course.
to think beyond that. And that
And
is
also
why
to make it sustainable.
right. And that is why it is so important for me to find organizations that are doing the groundwork.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, okay, there's some form of accountability. There's some form of transparency. There's some form of communication where you can see exactly, you know, with what's going on, how it's being done, and, you know, how effective your support is being. So when it comes to education, I'm a huge fan of helping or collaborating with nonprofits doing the groundwork.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what have been some of your biggest career highlights, and can you give us some examples?
Hmm.
And I'm sure there've been many, but like, what are the ones that really stand out for you?
All right. So one of the, what can I say? Not much as an experience, but it's something that happened that has stuck with me. And I remember when I was getting married and convinced my husband to do a wedding charity, which is something I created, mixing charity and registry. And that charity went towards helping girls in Afghanistan. And I remember doing an interview on Central Park lawn through Global Citizen. And they brought me to a tent. And I was just trying to calm my nerves and make sure that, you know, I had my Zen moment before going in. And out the corner of my eye, I saw Hugh Jackman and his wife, but I really didn't pay much attention to it because, as I said, I'm trying to, you know, calm my nerves. And I remember him, you know, walking over. And at the time, I didn't even see him walking over. I just remember someone touching me saying Davinia. And I looked up and it was him, and my mouth was wide open. I was shocked. And I was like, you know my name? And he's like, yes. And he said, you can't stop doing what you're doing. Do you hear me? And I'm looking at him and he repeated again, you can't stop doing what you're doing, okay? And I said, okay, yes, yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. So I have, you know, just brought, you know, that moment with me everywhere that I go, because oftentimes you do things and you never know who's watching.
No, exactly. And
Like
sometimes people won't ever say anything to you, but they're always watching.
Right. So you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have had other experiences where MSNBC was doing a piece on me and producer was saying, who has pennies just laying in their house anyway? And I said, do you want to bet? And it was probably a week or two after I got a package in the mail saying, you were right. And it was a huge package of pennies.
Wow.
And for me, it was like, wow. Or another time, just being on the stage, speaking out to 60,000 people on Central Park about Pennies for Girls and what I do. And I often look at those moments and say, wow, just following my heart and following my passion has brought me in a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I am here. I truly can't believe that I'm here. Even being able to speak at the UN or speak to Emmanuel Macron and Justin Trudeau and Theresa May about Pennies for Girls and what I do. For me, it's the humbling point in my life, and also it's like a ha-ha moment for me.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
listen, what you're doing is important, and just like what Hugh Jackman say, you can't stop. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. So you've also been blessed and given so much confidence. Was this something that your mom also instilled in you?
That's a good question. And
But you're a
what
fireball, Davinia.
what I find funny is the fact that ever since I've known myself, I've been a rebel.
Yeah.
So maybe it is from, just being raised by a confident woman. She
Mm,
was a community activist, well-spoken, and I think, that just was instilled in me.
mm,
And then, like, even with my life, it could have gone many different ways, but then I felt like, God had me on this journey, and he's like, no, I need you to go this way. And when it comes to my adopted mom is the exact same way, very confident,
mm.
well-spoken, stand by what she believes in, stands up for what she believes in, stands up for people. And so it just happens that I am around the right people to reflect who I am and more of who I want to be.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, as a woman, a lot of women have incredible ideas but struggle with negotiation or execution and closing deals. Is this also something you help young girls with? And can you give us some examples? Because obviously it stems from a place of confidence as well. But is this something that you impart as part of what you do?
Well, so when it comes to my work,
Mm,
I wouldn't say there's a lot of, closing deals. It's
mm,
more about trying to convince, people on why they should support what I do, why they should donate their money. Yes, a lot of it comes from confidence, but I also believe once you're telling your truth, it makes everything easier because you
yes.
don't have to remember anything. Oh, what did
No.
I just know? Once
Yeah.
you're telling your truth and you're living your truth, then you're well on your way. You're well on your way. And I also believe that one of the things that we women have to stand by is knowing not to compromise.
100%.
Yeah, you have to know not to compromise. It is okay for someone to tell you no. That is fine, because you telling me no is simply telling me, okay, this was not meant to be or not
Yes.
meant to happen right now. Let's move on.
100%.
Yeah, do not compromise, because the minute you compromise, you are settling. And then when you get the end of the bad stick, you have no one to blame but yourself.
So, exactly.
Accountability. Yeah,
Yeah.
accountability. Yep.
So, what is your biggest vision for Pennies for Girls, and what legacy would you like to leave?
So my biggest vision for Pennies for Girls is that I want it to be a part of every school, no matter where in the world they are, and
Mm,
every organization. And I want it to be to a point where there is transparency, because
yes.
I feel like transparency in a lot of these big organizations is lacking.
Mm,
And I personally know that because there's no transparency, I am iffy about donating. So transparency is very huge for me. Accountability is very huge too, because I want people to know that, listen, you support Pennies for Girls, and if they say they're going to do this, this is exactly what they're going to do, and here's the proof. So there's no gray area. So that is my biggest vision for Pennies for Girls. I really want it to be incorporated with kids, because
yes.
I need kids to know that it doesn't matter where you're from, how
Mm,
old you are, you can make a difference. You
yes.
can. And
100%. So, and what
yeah.
legacy legacy would you like to leave?
So the legacy I want to leave is that we all have magic and we all are able to live a life that we love, and also by simply inspiring others to live their best life while creating change.
Yeah, 100%. So what are the 3 key pieces of advice you would give to others wanting to start initiatives or organizations and entrepreneurs?
So the 3 key factors are: embrace all that you are, own your
Yes.
story. You have to own your story. And owning your story meaning that, listen, once I tell you who I am, you cannot use it against me because it's all out there.
Yes.
The next one is, don't be afraid of a no, because a lot of people, they stop from moving to the next step because they get a no.
Yeah.
Getting a no in life is not something you can control.
No.
What you do after getting that no is a defining moment. So you can decide, okay, you're going to cry about it, or you could decide, I cry about it a little bit, and you know what? Let me see what else is it that I can do. And then the next one is love what you do, and also make sure that the people around you are supportive of what you do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And aligning with the right people to be that support as well, because sometimes you don't always get it from family, or whatever.
Oh yeah,
So you have to.
never look to get support from people you know, because with my Pennies for Girls, the support that I've gotten is from people that I didn't know.
Exactly. 100%.
And I still don't know. So don't think that, oh, because we are BFFs or we're this means that they are going to support you. Just like what I have said before, you can't expect people to support or understand something that they haven't lived.
Yes, exactly.
You just have to work on inspiring people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So that obviously, I know you touched on it before, but for those who would like to get in contact with you, if you could just let us know the best ways, again, which platforms to connect with, that would be helpful, just in case.
Of course. You could find me on social media at Davinia R. James or Davinia James. And you could also find me under Pennies number 4 Girls.
Yes.
You could also find me at daviniajames.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Davinia, for joining us today and for sharing your story and for just doing some incredible and inspiring work. And hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where your journey is or has taken you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Take care. Thank you.